Hello, hello, good morning, and happy Tuesday, April the 22nd. Do we still call it Easter Tuesday? Is it just the whole week? Just do it Easter.
Each Easter day should have some kind of Christian meaning.
Yes,
Tuesday being the most boring day of this would be the sainted day of the holy hamburger, when the resurrected Savior and Son of the God had his first post-death burger.
Like Saint McDonald?
Well, I would like to think that, after going through crucifixion, you want to treat yourself to something a little better than McDonald's. So maybe you got to at least go Wendy's.
Five Guys.
Maybe Five Guys.
Each of the five apostles there.
Or In-N-Out Burger,
Yes.
After all, you've been in and out of life.
That's true.
And death.
That right there.
It's like,
is a good slogan.
Hey, Jesus Christ, you've just been crucified and rose 3 days later from the dead. What are you going to do? I'm going to In-N-Out Burger.
I'm getting an In-N-Out Burger.
Yeah.
That's worth it. By the way, one of my high school jobs, just going to say, and I can vouch for the freshness of the food.
That's the opposite of my experience at Friendly's.
I was peeling the potatoes. I was
1979.
Pouring the lettuce.
So old. I was working at Friendly's, unpacking the burger truck.
Friendly's.
And
I thought it was just an ice cream place.
No, they had burgers too. They were square, and they came in these boxes. You'd open the box, and there'd be I think maybe 6 or 8 or 12 side by side, all perforated like stamps, and they were the meat, and meat frozen solid. Yeah, meat sheet, perforated. Okay. Perfectly, and then there'd be a piece of wax paper and then another one like that underneath that and like that.
So meat sheets.
Anyway, so one time I'm unpacking the truck, summer of 1979, and the boxes came in with American Revolutionary Bicentennial logos stamped on the side, which meant that they were 3 years old.
Oh.
Next year everything's going to have the sesquicentennial, whatever it's called, the 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence was next year, and there's a terrible logo for it, by the way, already. And that logo is going to be all over the place.
You're such a nerd, Ted, that you would know that.
I know it's the 250th anniversary of 1776. Yeah, I do. And Trump's going to be, going crazy.
Wow.
He's taking a victory lap on that.
Well, with that, you are tuned into the Ted and Manila Information Show, TMI Show for short.
We've already had too much information.
You've already had too much before we even introduced ourselves.
Thanks for tuning in. Bye.
Before we even introduce ourselves, this is kind of probably how it works. Like at a cocktail party, I'm Manila Jan. Before I even say my name, I'm like, "Hey, did you see this?" And I just start talking.
Yeah.
It's kind of how it works. And this show, there you go. That's how this show works. So if you're looking for something straight-laced, this ain't it. Today is actually Earth Day 2025. And Ted, did you know the first Earth Day was in 1970?
I'm well aware, under President Richard M. Nixon.
So weird, right?
He was actually quite an environmentalist, actually.
Which is very strange to me. I got to ask Dr. I wasn't around
Environmentalism as being a liberal thing started under Reagan. Up until Reagan, I'm sure Dr. Halter will confirm this, but my recollection was that up until 1980, it was like Republicans and Democrats all agreed that global warming and climate change were real. They were caused by human beings, that there were mass species extinctions. The environment was not a political issue.
Right.
And it's only when Reagan came in and he said, well, you're putting animals and plants ahead of jobs. And that's when he politicized the environment. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, many would argue that Teddy Roosevelt was the first real environmental
100%.
President.
Although he liked to kill big animals. But yes, he within the context of his time, he was definitely
correct.
And he's
the one
lot of huge national parks.
National parks. Exactly. He's the one that put this into motion. Like, hey, we should save this area and we should save that swamp. And people are like, why do you want to save a swamp? Yes, it's part of the ecosystem.
Yes.
Save it. Yes, all that swampland we now call Florida. You can only build houses on some of it.
Well, now we call them wetlands.
Well, then that's the selling point is you're buying a home or building a home on
in a mosquito-filled bog.
Wetlands of Florida. And
otherwise known as the place where alligators live. Did you see that viral video of the gators climbing the wall and
ringing the doorbells? Yes.
Yeah.
So weird. And then I went down the gator hole, and I started reading other Florida woman or Florida man stories about the gators in their houses.
Oh yeah, and it happens all the time.
I can't believe that.
So I had this very. He's still a
hard
good friend.
pass.
I had this good friend. His wife was from Florida and really was trying to make excuses to leave New York City after 9/11. And she was like, "Oh, I'm so afraid of another attack. We're all going to be killed by Al Qaeda." And I'm like, "You live uptown. You're not going to be killed by Al Qaeda. Like, there's not going to be another attack. That's not how Al Qaeda works. They never do the same thing twice," which is kind of true, right?
Yes,
so
true.
And so, anyway, so she was just like making excuses. So she insisted that they move to Naples, Florida. Within 2 weeks of moving to Naples, there's an anthrax attack in Naples.
Oh my
God. If you remember that. And then also, one morning, I'm talking to him and I hear his wife screaming in the background. There was a giant gator trying to get into their house from the canal next door. I'm like, you bought a house next to a canal? How are we supposed to know that gators were in there? I'm like, because it's Florida and it's water. And that's where they hang.
Producer Robbie is from the Panhandle State, from the Gulf side, and says,
I used to swim with alligators. I kid you not. There's a place called Spring Lake, a couple of miles down from where I grew up, and we go swimming. There'd be alligators. You can see them with their eyes poke up out of the water.
Wait. Why would you if you can see that their eyes are above the water? Why would you enter the water?
Because unless some fool feeds them, they're not aggressive. I kid you not. No. What you could do? Nope.
No.
Look, listen. This is you want TMI. This is TMI. This is factual information.
Robbie's right. I know that's true. Yeah,
it is true. No, I mean you can go in there. You can swim with them. They watch you. You watch them. They stay on their side of the lake. You stay on yours. They do not care.
What?
But now the problem is. Like Ted's New Yorker friends, fortunately, she's smart enough to be scared of them. A lot of these damn Yankees, that's what we call them, damn Yankees, they come down and they think, oh, this poor animal is hungry. I'm going to feed it. That's the worst thing. It's just like the bears up here in Montana. If you feed a bear, it's a dead bear. If you feed a gator, it's a dead gator because they lose their fear of humans. Mm-hmm. And then they will attack you because say, hey, if you're going to provide me food, you will be the food. That's true.
I have a friend, a cartoonist. She dates a guy who lives in Northern California in bear country, and her mother-in-law gives, or I should say, would-be mother-in-law, feeds the bears, and so when she walks through the woods, she gets mugged by the bears. Yep. I mean, the bears are actually pretty nice. They're just sort of like, give me food, and she like throws them whatever she has, and they're like, all right, we're good here. See you tomorrow. Bring more.
Yeah.
Okay.
They're very smart.
See, this is all environmental Earth stories. So, okay, Robbie, I'm gonna put your insane alligator swimming ass back in the background.
You're putting me back in the back. Listen, I understand putting me back in the back when you have a pro-immigration guest on.
Too much information.
Back to the back.
Seriously?
If you ever see them, you know that movie, The Last King of Scotland, about Idi Amin? Yeah, it's about Idi Amin. Yeah, you do. Oh, okay. Well, anyway, there's a movie about an actual documentary called Mobutu. What's it called? It's about Mobutu, the president of Zaire. Anyway, long story short, there's a scene where he's swimming in the Zambezi River, and crocodiles are in his way, and he just sort of like casually pushes them out of the way so he can get past. Yeah. And crocodiles are a lot bigger than alligators.
Yeah, I mean, but seriously, I mean, from the Christian perspective, I'll go away with this. Man has dominion over the earth, but we're stewards. We're supposed to take care of it. So that's how that kind of goes.
Of today's show.
And swimming with alligators, there's nothing wrong with it. Just don't feed them.
Insane. Goodbye. Okay, we got 5 minutes. We got Dr. Reese waiting in the background with in the trees. So let's hop to a couple of headlines. Not too much commentary. We'll just give you the headlines. And
here we go.
How can we
not comment though?
This one. Go for it. I'm not going to jaws it. Go for it.
Okay. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth created a signal chat with his wife, his personal lawyer, and my cat Clovis, and posted sensitive military information into it. People familiar with the matter said Sunday, a revelation that has added to the increasing scrutiny of the idiot leader. Hegseth was already facing questions for writing flight plans and other details about a military operation ahead of U.S. strikes against the Houthis in Yemen. On a signal chat with other senior Trump officials, Hegseth posted nearly the same info into yet another chat featuring his wife and those other aides. People who are, of course, don't have any right to see that stuff. This new signal chat scandal comes after an unusually high number of top political appointees have either been fired from the Pentagon or resigned just in the past few weeks, some without any explanation. Trump's national security team, meanwhile, is trying to broker deals with Russia, Ukraine, and Iran, putting a lot of pressure on a group that basically doesn't know what the hell it's doing. The latest signal chat group, a team huddle, as it called itself, included 13 people. One person familiar with it said. The chat included Hegseth's brother, a Department of Homeland Security liaison who had traveled with the defense chief. The chat also included his personal lawyer. He said that he began the chat around the time of his confirmation hearing, and it was used in part to craft strategies ahead of his appearance on Capitol Hill. Shortly after the New York Times reported on the second signal chat, John Oyot, do you know how to pronounce that? I have
no idea.
Oyot, a former top Pentagon spokesman working under Hegseth, wrote in Politico that the Pentagon is in total chaos and disarray. The New York Times and the Washington Post have similar reporting this morning. Oyot alleged that the 3 fired Pentagon officials, all Hegseth loyalists, were quote-unquote wrongly smeared by anonymous officials as leakers who failed polygraph tests. All right, well, if you guys were smeared, you know what to do. File a defamation suit. Then you'll be proving that you're probably telling the truth. While the department said that it would conduct polygraph tests as part of the probe, not one of the 3 has been given a lie detector test, Uliat wrote. Unfortunately, Hegseth's team has developed a habit of spreading flat-out, easily debunked falsehoods anonymously about their colleagues on their way out the door. The Defense Department IG, the Inspector General, at the request of the chairman and ranking member of the Senate Armed Services Committee, launched an investigation earlier this month into Hegseth's handling of the first signal chat. And I bet, Manila, there's 3. I bet there's just R.
There's more, for sure. There's also rumors swirling that Trump is already looking for Hegseth's replacement, although on Easter Sunday at the festivities at the North Lawn or South Lawn, probably smarter than Hegseth, that Trump stood by Hegseth and said, "No, he's not going anywhere. He's my guy."
That's what he always says until he doesn't.
Right, but at the same time, Ted, that he's all filled with spite, and that Trump may, like Waltz, keep Hegseth there just to spite the U.S. media.
Look, I for one want to see Hegseth stay there. Never has the Pentagon been more in a state of chaos and ineffectual in U.S. history. So I think that's good for the cause of peace.
Good idea.
Hegseth deserves a Nobel Peace Prize. We should
accidentally peaceful.
We should have only incompetent people in charge of war making.
That is a new plan, Ted. That could be you could be accidental peace. Like that's good.
Right.
All right. Next story.
All right. The FTC's, that's the Federal Trade Commission's blockbuster monopoly trial against Meta, parent company of Facebook, kicked off last week. CEO Mark Zuckerberg spent 10 hours on the stand. I hope he got to pee. The agency claims Meta used a buy or bury strategy to kill off rivals, while the company says it's just trying to compete in a TikTok world. At risk is a potential breakup that could force Meta to spin off its most valuable apps. Week 1 delivered some drama. The FTC came prepared with receipts like internal emails, where Zuckerberg called Instagram a viable competitor in one and predicted that Meta might have to spin it off, and WhatsApp in another, long before regulators showed up. Meta reportedly offered up to $1 billion to settle the case. The FTC said it wasn't enough. The number is far below what they want, supposedly 30 times more. The real showdown still lies ahead. Expert testimony, where judges tend to focus in antitrust cases, will likely play a huge role in determining whether Meta is truly a monopoly. You know, Manila, I'm going to surprise you here. I'm not sure that Meta is a monopoly. I'm sure that Google is a monopoly.
Oh, for sure that is.
But
why both can be true.
Yeah, both can certainly be true. They're not direct competitors, really. But what makes you think that Meta is a monopoly? I mean, I think there's competition in almost every space in which they operate, right? Except Facebook. Facebook is kind of its own thing.
Yeah, Facebook is kind of modernized MySpace.
Mm-hmm.
But
Facebook, WhatsApp certainly has competition. We just talked about Signal.
Yeah, that's recently,
that's a competition.
Yes, but very recently, Meta bought
Instagram. There's other things like Instagram.
He supposedly encrypted all of these other things, but the point is he bought and buried all the other companies to squash competition. That's what Amazon famously does. And that's the problem.
And Apple does that too.
Yeah, so that should be brought up against a lot of other companies, big tech companies, and Google, of course, is on trial, by the way, in the same courthouse, in the same building as Zuck. So you're gonna have all these big named tech people.
They're like, "Yo, what's up?"
Yeah, like they're like, "Hey, how's your case going?" Not so good. Google definitely needs to get broken up. Meta, I think all of these companies, tech has overtaken our lives, and
could you see if you were transferred into the body of Mark Zuckerberg, that would be obviously a major downgrade, or his wife with her lovely statue. Oh
God!
At least you'd be ethnically appropriate.
That's true.
Couldn't you see, like, just at a certain point being like, I have billions of dollars. Do I need this in my life? I'm just leaving. Bye.
Right. Yes, that's how I would have gone.
Like, Tahiti. Bye.
What was his name? The guy from MySpace, Tom. I would go in the way of MySpace Tom, the one that was everybody's friend. Do you know what that guy's doing now with his hundreds of millions of dollars? Because I bothered to look him up a year or two ago.
This is, by the way, what's his name? Wozniak, who was the
Wozniak, yeah.
Wozniak,
the co-founder of Apple.
Yeah, he basically has a chill life now.
So Tom is now a nature photographer.
Oh, that's cool.
Perfect. I mean, I'm looking at Dr. Reese right now with showing us some beautiful trees in the background there. I can see Dr. Reese. So we'll just speed through this last one. Appropriate thing for us to say. Real quick. You got to go speed through this, Ted.
I will speed through it.
This is great.
All right, here we go. The research by the Washington, D.C. based personal injury law firm Kitchell Law has analyzed some NHTSA data, that's the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, between 2018 and 2022. It's kind of an odd period because it includes a couple of years of pandemic lockdown, about fatal crashes that occurred between 5 and 7 p.m. The study then measured crash rates per 100,000 licensed drivers to identify states with the highest evening rush hour fatalities. The highest rate is here in New York City, with the nation's highest fatal crash rate during the evening rush, with 34.6 crashes per 100,000 licensed drivers. What about the unlicensed ones?
Right.
We have so many of those. 6 times the national average. Of 5 crashes per. I'm blaming those are all on the New Jersey drivers. Between 2018 and 2022, this is the entire state. New York averaged 177.8 fatal accidents annually among the state's 513 or so thousand or so licensed drivers. Evening rush hour fatalities hit a record high of 204 in 2022, and 2019 had the lowest rate at 146. That's the pandemic. People were driving a lot faster during the pandemic. I remember cruising across the Cross Bronx Expressway at about 105. It was awesome. Alabama ranks second with a fatal evening rush hour crash rate of 28.4, almost 468% higher than average. That's so crazy. Alabama and New York.
I know.
The state's 528,000 licensed drivers, about the same number as in New York, faced a 5-year average of 150 fatal rush hour accidents. The worst year was 2021. That's peak pandemic with 170, while 2019 had the fewest. Virginia has the third spot in the evening rush hour sweepstakes.
There we are.
With the sorry Manila, with a fatal crash rate of 27 per 100,000. That's 440% higher than average. Among that state's 540,000 drivers, the 5-year fatality average was 146. The deadliest year was 2022 with 173, and 2018 had the fewest at 121. Again, this is a pandemic thing. The NHTSA data on fatal crashes basically just went down the line, following Virginia, North Carolina, Arizona, Missouri, Wisconsin, New Jersey. See, I did blame the New Jerseyans. Indiana, and Massachusetts. I'm surprised that the mass holes are so low.
I know
on that list,
I'm surprised too.
Because the thing about the mass holes is, in New York, like when someone's coming into your lane, they're bluffing. They just sort of want to borrow it for a little bit. In Massachusetts, they're going to hit you. So,
Yeah, so I've heard. And you know what I'm not surprised about? And the last thing I'll say, and the only thing I'll say about this, is being a California native and having been born, bred, raised there, driven there, licensed there, and where I learned to drive and my survival skills. I am not surprised, given the millions of drivers in California, I am not surprised that California is not on the top fatality list, because we are actually really good tactical drivers. We're like, zoom.
If it was like Northern California, you guys would all be dead. Southern Californians are a much better driver. And then Eastern California, nobody lives there, so their rate's lower. Right. We have a quick ad, and then we're going to bring in the good doctor. Week coffee is for the week, and at Rumble, week has never been part of the mission. No fillers, no fraud, and no settling for mediocrity, just like 1775 coffee. It's single origin, small farm, hand-picked, specialty grade coffee that stands for quality, free speech, and calling out BS where it matters. When it matters. Forget stale, mass-produced beans roasted just enough to hide the flaws. Dark roast hits like a Trump tariff. Medium roast keeps it bold without the bitterness. And Vitality Mushroom Blend. Real energy and lasting focus. No synthetic garbage. For K-Cup pods, whole bean or fresh ground coffee, go to 1775coffee.com. Use code STUDIO for 15% off and start your morning with coffee that stands for something. Oh, and every dollar spent enters you to win a Cybertruck and $30,000 cash. There you go.
All right. So with that,
let's introduce the good doctor. I'll introduce him.
Yeah, let's.
All right, joining us.
Do that.
Joining us now for this Earth Day is Dr. Reese Halter, friend of the show and conservation biologist and author of several books. The most recent one is called Generation Z Emergency. Dr. Reese, thanks for joining us here on the TMI Show.
Hey, happy Earth Day. You're looking at a couple of very young redwood trees. And I just want to remind everybody during these very disruptive times that each of us are powerful. And when we Mother Earth loving people band together, we in fact move mountains. And it's just the little acts like eating for the planet or planting for the planet, or thinking twice, do I really need that? Is that going to make me happy or filled with gratitude? And the reverse of that is take a walk anywhere in nature. I happen to be extraordinarily blessed because I live around very big trees and forests and the ocean, but you just go to a green space, go into your garden, plant a little tomato plant or an herb, or better still, a food-bearing tree, an apple, a plum, a pear, a peach, a nectarine, and more, and just rejoice. I think that there's so much in front of us. The electronics is overwhelming. The news feeds are shockingly distressing and fear-mongering, right? When people are full of fear, then your vibration is so low that you forget about the bees, the trees, and the seas all around us. And we need uplifting news. And it starts with us, and then it ripples to our family and our neighbors, and then our community, right?
I'm so with you on that, Dr. Reese. I'm all about the good energy, the good vibes. This is where Ted says that I'm too hippy dippy Californian because I love when spring is back, because what little bit of lawn I have, which there was a dearth of in Southern California, but I have lawn here in Virginia. I like to go ground myself and get my bare feet in the earth, in the soil, wiggle my feet in the dirt, pick up some earthworms and kind of move them where they need to go. I know it sounds hippy dippy California, but it's true. It is absolutely true, Ted. You got to ground your feet in Mother Earth soil and do this every day, because especially you're a city dweller, and in the winter months, you guys, like, you're not, when are you barefoot on Earth soil, right? It probably doesn't happen very much. It is so all about like grounding there, and like and because you're in like the fashion mecca of the world, Ted, you have access to like 100% cotton everything if you wanted, which is a high frequency vibration fabric. And
I'm a pro cotton person, although I'm a merino
renewable
wool. I'm a merino wool.
Wools
person.
are good. Wools are good. This is, you know, on that subject, Dr. Reese, the first Earth Day was on this day in 1970. I wasn't there for that Earth Day, but you know, it's what, 50, is that right? Could that be 55 years? Is that right? Yeah, I guess. What has changed between then and now? Because when I was doing research on this and looking at old video, I saw, I mean, we have on the screen right here, this is Earth Day in Philadelphia, 1970. Walter Cronkite was covering it. We had masses of people all around the country. And it's not a protest. This is kind of like a Woodstock gathering type thing for Earth Week. What has happened since then? Why don't we see stuff like this anymore, like we're seeing on the screen? And you have, you know, people humming, you know, singing, having concerts, people just raising awareness and enjoying. Why is it now that people are just hashtag and tweeting about it instead of having these uplifting, you know, look at this, it looks like Woodstock. Like what is this? Why don't we do that anymore?
I think, and Ted, you can jump in anytime, but my take is that the addiction to the screen is overwhelming. And you can go into a supermarket. In fact, I just saw the day before yesterday, maybe the little baby or little one was, I don't know, 2.5 years old in the shopping cart, and they had it on a screen being engaged or kept occupied, let me say. And it's so tempting, but it isn't reality, in that your senses are overwhelmed, your visual senses are overwhelmed, and your tactile and your olfactory, your sense of smell is not there. I mean, sometimes you listen, sometimes you don't. So there's an auditory thing, but it's a way over stim for the eyes. And I, having been in the nature as a professional for over 4 decades, what I've trained and what my colleagues, we look around, we look for small things. We're looking to see new things, to try to assemble patterns and then make sense of the patterns. But that's really lost today. And in terms of people just say, oh, you know, it's just a green space. Oh my, there's so many things to see, whether it's butterflies, whether it's hoverflies, whether it's a beautiful scent of something in bloom, or whether you want to touch the bark or touch a leaf, whether it's velvety or whether it's leathery. Those are the things that we evolved with. This screen is too much. And now I maintain, with the population of over 8 billion, it appears, obviously it's a hyperbole, but it appears that we have 8 billion experts and 8 billion writers and 8 billion bloggers and 8 billion of this, that, and the other. I think the most worrisome trend, apart from downright lying, are these nonsense conspiracy, this, that, and the other. For heaven's sakes, as a writer, as a Mother Earth lover, pick up a book, support. And here's the thing. Okay, people say, oh, books are so expensive. Guess what? Libraries are not. And it's just support people that have done good work and are doing good work, and keep away from the nonsense. It robs your mind, right, Ted?
It does. And buy my new book, speaking of which.
Well, there you go.
So,
Great
no,
plug.
I don't think books are expensive. I think if you think about, like, okay, a really expensive book is $35, right? Okay, I mean, that's in most parts of the country, that is a cheap night out. That is that's just like a meal, like,
That's one meal.
and for one person. I mean, and really you can buy a lot of books for $12 or $15.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just not, it's a really, and a good book will keep you entertained for days on end, maybe weeks,
Right.
So it's just not, I think it's an amazing entertainment.
Can I add something? Can I add something to what Dr. Reese was saying? Seeing that I'm the one in this group here with this still a small child. One thing I've also noticed, Dr. Reese, about the change in how people interact with nature is that other moms, because I take my son out to go play, at playgrounds and parks and whatever. What I've noticed is, and this is different than when I was a kid, where, in 1984, your parents just kind of, it was different. They just kind of let you go out, right? And you just kind of discover and touch and smell and lick things and taste things that, you figure it out for yourself, right? But today, I notice that moms don't want their kids to be touching this or touching that or licking this or tasting that.
Yes.
Like fingers on trees.
They're afraid. They're afraid of the natural world.
I want my son to get dirty. I want him to get dirty. I want him to go, touch puddles. Maybe not in the gutter, but I mean, you know what I mean. Out at a park.
Honestly, look at what happened after the pandemic lockdown. There was an explosion of all sorts of other diseases like MRSA,
right?
Because people hadn't been getting out enough, and their immunity started to collapse. And so that, we're not meant to be so isolated. But I want to be negative here, because there's so much environmental news that's atrocious. Yeah. I've been doing a lot of research on a possible novel that it has an environmental bent. And I'm always shocked every time I come back and I read the most recent studies about climate change or acidification. I'm always shocked when I go scuba diving and at how hard it is now to find living reefs and so on. But just a few factoids that I dug up for today's Earth Day. So basically, we have a new record high last year. Every year is a record high in greenhouse gas emissions. The World Meteorological Organization found that 2024 was the first year and people don't really understand these numbers, but where global average temperatures are over 1.5 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels. That's usually the year 1750 is what they look at, driven by record high CO2, methane, and nitrous oxide. Fossil fuels, deforestation and fossil fuels are between basically about 90% and 10% of emissions respectively. So pretty much that's all of it. And this is terrible, obviously, for the environment and as well as human beings. Deforestation in the Amazon, even though there was a 30% reduction in deforestation, in other words, the rate of deforestation dropped, but it was still happening. Illegal logging and agricultural expansion went up. 11,000 square kilometers were cleared last year. Shouldn't have been anything cleared. Then ocean acidification, marine heat waves. We know about the oceans boiling. Basically, biodiversity collapse. You have wherever you live, if you just look at the sky, there's fewer birds and there's fewer different kinds of birds. You'd see the unusual ones less often than you used to. And so basically, and with this administration, where basically they want to bring back coal and, they're very skeptical of alternative energies. It just seems like, those predictions of human collapse, civilizational possibly collapsing by the year 2050, that might be optimistic, right? I mean, because the governments of the world are really not doing I wasn't going to say not enough. The truth is they're not doing squat. And but meanwhile, we're driving the bigger cars than we ever drove before. We're just not taking this seriously. I mean, are you? I mean, you live in a beautiful place. We see it here on the camera. How terrified are you?
On a scale of 1 to 10, a million.
Mm-hmm.
I see such what I call mother loathing. I see such brutality. I see such unimaginable in all of my lives disdain for science and fact-based truth, excruciatingly truthed information. I do battle getting from annoyed to depressed when 100 cities are denied 75 million to plant trees because of an administration that loathes trees. An administration that loathes insects and has no idea that the insect population is the backbone of land life, and it's crumbling so quickly. I see starvation of children. I see $1 billion farms to school food, real food program canceled. And let's say I'm jumping around, but let's say you're a bean counter, Ted and Manila. And let's say you're terribly concerned about a $36 trillion debt. Okay. So everything you're doing is to get this debt purportedly under control. If that is true, which it isn't, but if it was true, the fundamental question is why, after slashing everything, medicine, food, trees, air, water, provoking global heating, why would you give $4.5 trillion to the wealthiest 0.01% of the people in the country? And the answer is greed. Greed, a hatred for life. And I'll lastly leave it like this. Even the great pharaohs could not take their riches with them. Earlier, there was a comment of the Zuckerberg family and others. If you read or if you listen, and 1 billion people did follow Pope Francis. Pope Francis urged that we all must give far more than we take, because when everyone is happy, then we're all a big family. When one of us is hurting, our family is hurting. And our planet, with its wars and with its famines and with its greed, is filled with hurt. And it grieves me because we can change that. But this present administration is next level cruel. And we can't fall prey to that. I am heartened by the demonstrations last weekend. What is it, 5150? Is that the number? I forget the code.
I think it's 5051.
Right.
50-50-51. Sorry, 50-51, I think is what
right. And that, Manila, is as close as we can come to the Earth Day celebrations of 55 years ago, where people came together and people were standing up for their neighbors, their communities. It's incongruous to me. I mean, I'm a simple man. I love this planet. I'm very, very grateful. But here's my simplistic take. Whether you're seventh or eighth or ninth generation American, or whether you're a first generation American, I'll steal a term from Australia. We're all bitsers. We're all a bit of this. We're all a bit of that. But we came here because this is and was the great melting pot to become a big family. Whatever your creed, your color, your religion, that is the beauty of America, because we can be together. We can have different beliefs. We can agree to disagree, but move on. This 2025 project, if you read deeply into it, has a plan to destroy learning institutions, to destroy the melting pot, and to make us homogeneous into one with one belief. And yet, Ted, when there's a heart attack, the people of 2025 are the first in line to get science, to get medicine, to get technology. It is all utter bunkum. And
Dr. Reese,
yep.
the Rumble Room wants your opinion on weather manipulation, if that is something that's helpful or harmful to our natural environment.
Oh, it's harmful because, again, to be humble, humility, to when you go into any green space, lake, forest, river, your garden, if you can seek wonder, if you can find wonder, wonder is the portal to bliss, and bliss, other than love, is they are the two highest vibrations that we have. So no, we don't need any more divisiveness. We need coming together, cooperation. We're all one.
Yeah, and to the point of the weather manipulation, I mean, they're shooting aerosols into the sky, right? I mean, that can't be healthy for us to breathe in, or the animals, right?
No, and
Or the bees.
canceling the national climate assessment and all the research around that will cost lives. Yesterday, they canceled weather balloons, so there's 100 sites where they release big balloons a couple of times a day to take weather readings. Would you believe they're even canceling weather balloons? This is this is like
So
dropping into the dark ages, because why?
This is so strange to me. I'm looking at video on the screen right now of, like, this is Copenhagen. I was looking at up video of, like, the greenest cities in the world, and Copenhagen apparently is one of them. And as a whole, an entire country, Singapore is apparently ranks among the greenest city in, or country in the world rather. And they're building green architecture and building with the idea of plants to be a part as a feature of
Yes.
all of their new sustainable buildings and things like that. And I'm wondering when you think we might see that kind of natural integration in how we build green buildings in the United States.
Well, I would like to say yesterday, and I'm hopeful as soon as possible. A terrific book for everyone, Cradle to Cradle. It explains the toxicity of products and how to stay away and how to repurpose and how to do it right. We've known Cradle to Cradle for almost 30 years. The architecture and the plans for the future are well established. And it's a fact that if you want to do something right, as Ted said earlier, it does cost a little, but if we do it right, then we get it right. And again, the strangeness of all of this is, if the three of us were tech tycoons and we were sitting at a table, what do tech tycoons, or what do any of the tycoons value the most? The best, newest information, because it leads to better decisions and, for them, more profits. So why would we eschew all this information just so that a handful of people can become beyond wealthy with money and keep the rest of the population uncomfortable, ill, and full of fear. We have to fight this. We have to fight it individually because we can, and with our thoughts. I'll leave you at this Earth Day with grab an apple, have an apple a day indeed keeps the doctor away.
One more question from the Rumble room for you, Dr. Reese. One of the Rumblers wants to know your opinions about how micro and nanoplastics seep into the human brain. If you believe that those studies that have been published that now show that they do go to our brains,
Yeah.
do you believe that's accurate? And if it goes to our brains,
not just our
I mean,
brains, also
it's
to our into men's sperm, causing
yeah.
infertility.
I mean, what are your thoughts on all these micro and nanoplastics and just the use of plastics? I would say in general, like I use like my, these aluminum water. I try to avoid, for example, single-use water bottles. Like as much as possible, I do not use them because of the micro and nanoplastics.
I don't believe in buying water.
Yeah,
I mean, come on, think about the
human
stupidest
right.
thing in the world is importing Fiji water from the other side of the world.
But it's not really
water.
From Fiji. It's not really from Fiji. And when I was in Iceland, I had heard that Iceland had the purest, most fantastic tap water in the world because they have all the glaciers, right? And so when we were in Iceland last month, for the first time in, I don't know, probably since 1985, I drank glasses and glasses of tap water in Iceland and in real glasses because there's Reykjavik, speaking of Iceland, because their water comes from their own natural springs in Iceland that come from the glaciers in Iceland. And it was amazing. Like I drank, the water was free. It's in every tap and it was clean and it tasted great. And I didn't have to use a plastic bottle. The micro nanoplastics though, that was
Dr. Reese, let's hear about
yesterday's, as if all of the information and latest studies aren't enough. Yesterday they found microplastics in amnio fluid, so it's in vitro, it's in mothers, it's being pumped into newborn, gestating, soon to be newborns. It's beyond worrisome. When I got stuck into plastics maybe 20 years ago in the oceans, what we did find is they're perfect sponges for all of the other poisons, whether it's DDT or PCBs or biphenyls or glyphosates or neonics or you name it. And when they come into us, they biomagnify many times higher. It's in all of us, and obviously the way to curtail this is number one, once again, end the $7 trillion per annum for fossil fuels. Plastics happen to be their biggest growth area. They take currently 10 to 12 million barrels a day to make plastics. Over the next 3, 5, 6 years, they're going to push that up to 20 million barrels a day to make more plastics. The Trump administration has greenlit this giant, the largest plastic plant in the world in Texas. It is opened or will be opening very shortly. It's it makes no sense. I would say the happiest and most deluded and cruel human living right this second, no question, is this Rupert Murdoch, his salacious crap that's been spoon-fed to 74 million Americans every second of the day for the last 45 years has corrupted us, has made Americans loathe other Americans for no other reason than the sake of the lowest vibration. It's disgusting, it's shameful, and it must come under some kind of control, because otherwise we sadly will destroy each other in what was the greatest democracy in the world, and it is under assault every second by greedy, terrible, and I don't say this lightly. These are this is what I term galactic scum that has waddled its way into DC and is absolutely tearing our nation apart every second of every day. I cannot wait till they're gone.
Well, I hope that whoever replaces them actually makes this a tangible priority about how we actually tackle this over dependency on plastics. And it's not, even if you don't care about the environment, if we're talking about the people that are, I don't know, let's say a typical Fox viewer, if they don't care about the environment, they should care about themselves and care about, the deterioration that they're causing their own bodies by way of using these single-use plastics, by way of this stuff leaching into their food, whether they know it or not. Every time you put plastic in the microwave, it's leaching into your food. Every time, if they don't care about the earth, then they should at least care about themselves. And as sort of a byproduct of them caring about themselves, it'll actually benefit the earth. So I feel like maybe that's how they need to market the whole thing, is you take care of you end up taking care of the earth, because if they don't care about the earth as a first priority, then fine, you should market it as a means of taking care of you, me, myself, and I, right, as it were. Dr. Reese, before we let you go, you got to say hi to us on camera so people can see your face. People want to see what you look like. They're asking.
Yeah, I'm around here. Here I am.
There's Dr. Reese. There's that handsome
old man spring at your service.
And we'll put your book here on screen.
I love you guys.
Emergency. Dr. Reese is amazing. I love having. I think you see things in a different light because you're a trained scientist, and you see it, from the scientific perspective of why it's an emergency, and not, it's not a hype talking point for you. It's
and look, you guys keep on keeping, and we're all one, and it's important that really, again, we all matter. We're all powerful, and do good deeds. The main thing is, when you do good deeds, you do it because it's the right thing, not because you're going to be rewarded. A random comment to a person at the supermarket or walking down the street, "Oh, you look great," or "May I open the door?" or "Can I carry your groceries?" You don't know that one act isn't going to make somebody's day and change their life, right?
I love that. You're absolutely right. Just one act of kindness,
no doubt,
goes a long way. I am with you on that, and that is the Earth Day message, I would say.
Yes.
One act of kindness for a human that ultimately results in, I would say, kindness to Earth, and stop using. God, I hate plastic water bottles.
I hear you.
Go buy a reusable bottle, folks. It's in, and it keeps your water cool.
Yeah. Happy Earth Day, everybody.
Happy Earth Day, Dr. Reese. Thank you so much. You're the best. So there you have it, Ted. I mean, it's not looking great for us.
No, I think we're screwed.
It's not looking too good. And as you know, I'm not one to, hair on fire or whatever, but I do care about these things that I don't know if I want to say it's been co-opted by the right, because I don't think it's. I hate that this used to be a super far left issue, is caring about like childhood health, your own health, just being healthy. That used to be a left-wing California crunchy hippy dippy thing. Like, I'm a yogi. I like doing, like I was just talking about, like grounding my feet every spring, because I'm so, since I'm out here in California, I can do that any time of the year. But that used to be such a California progressive left side of this political spectrum. It used to be their thing. And somehow it has now been politicized to become a thing on the right, about getting out to nature and breathing in fresh air. And somehow it's a thing of the right. But then when you come to the recycling part and stuff like that, that's still an AOC Bernie Sanders type, field. So it's like, how can this be so split? Like, how do you split all the things that used to be encompassed by Earth Week, right? These are all issues that used to be talked about during Earth Week. Why have they cherry picked on this side? This is what they'll talk about. And on this side, this is what they'll talk about, when it's all like, how come they don't see that it is all the same matter of health? Like, I don't get that.
No, I don't understand it either. I mean, it seems like basic, Freud said that there was a death wish, a death impulse in human psychology. And I think this kind of might be the best explanation, because self-survival, self-preservation is, you would think, would be the top instinct of non-suicidal human beings and all living things, right? You want to stay healthy, eat as much as you can, drink as much as you can, not too much. But and here you have even super wealthy, super powerful people seem to foolishly believe that they can insulate themselves from environmental disaster while they rake in billions, from environmental catastrophe. And that's obviously not sustainable over not even the long run, just the short run. So it's very stupid. I mean, it reminds me sort of like in the closing days of World War II, in the last 6 to 12 months of Nazi Germany, Germany was losing the war. They were being squeezed by the Allies on the West and the Russians on the East, and the Red Army. And during that time, at a time when they desperately needed to send troops to the front, they were diverting trains to deport Jews to camps because it was more important to them to kill Jews than it was to preserve themselves and their regime. That's a death wish. That's like a suicidal thing. You are literally not choosing self-preservation. I don't understand people who do that. I mean, I understand addiction, like, for example, you're addicted to cigarettes, they're bad for you. I get it. That's a physical thing. But here it's like, as a society, you can easily just say, we're going to ban plastics. We can just ban them. Nothing would happen. Very few people would lose their jobs. They would find other jobs. I mean, it's like,
how much better we'd be?
Makes no sense.
How much better off we'd be if we went back to, like, for example, Mexican Coca-Cola. It's in a glass bottle.
Oh, I know. And it tastes so much better too.
Oh my, and they use real sugar.
There's a different formula. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh my God. It's so much better. Once upon a time in America, I don't know if they had it when you were a kid. I think they might have phased out and went to plastic when you were a kid, but way back in the day, if you're watching, like, say, I Love Lucy, one of my favorite shows, you look at the difference in the size of our humans in America. You look at the portions of the food, what she's eating, what they go to restaurants and, what they're being served. That was the norm. You look at what they're serving you food on, right? Like, or in. The milkman was still carrying glass bottles. Milk was in glass bottles. You're buying, like, butter was wrapped in butcher paper and you brought it home to your icebox. And people were healthier then when products were sold, one, locally, and were sold to you in earth-friendly packaging, such as metals and glass. Mm-hmm. And I know it's a couple of cents more expensive for them to produce. So what? People will pay a couple of cents more if that's what, is sold to them at the stores, rather than getting these fucking nanoplastics in your bloodstream, into your lungs, into the amniotic sacs of babies, into your brain. Like, this is crazy that we have this kind of science and we know that it's there, but they're not willing to, or not even up the production, go backwards in the production timeline and go back to glass and metal, go back to selling things in like butcher paper. That's not, people are into that now. And plus even looks cool. It has that retro chic look, which
True.
is very marketable on Etsy right now. So on Pinterest, I'm a Pinterest woman. I don't, I don't like social media, Ted, but I will scroll and scroll on Pinterest because it's mostly good, positive stuff. And I guess it's the stuff that I click on that they're showing me more of, but it is stuff like that people are selling, like homemade soaps that are not made from all these different chemicals that are made. Like I use a soap after I read that book, Clean. I use a soap called Kirk's, like Captain Kirk, Kirk, Kirk's. But it's like made of natural ingredients and not all of these chemicals that strip your body of the natural oils that it needs. Even the paper that it's wrapped in is like non-toxic.
By the way, what's disappointing apropos of this conversation, and then we should go. I have an appointment with the French consulate. Make America healthy again. RFK Jr. has gone silent. What's up with him? I know.
Well, he's on a tirade to ban food coloring right now. Okay,
well that's good. Okay. But I mean, he's gone silent.
Fine. Okay. Right. He's done this food coloring thing, and then that's it so far. I'm waiting to see him call for production to be pushed back into raising it up a couple of cents per container, and let the consumer pay 5 cents more. We'll pay it because it's glass, because it's recyclable and it's healthy for us. I think consumers can bear that brunt and that burden. I think that's worthy.
It's like, look, it's funny because I remember arguing with my mom trying to get her to eat organic food. And my mom's like, I don't want to pay extra. And I was like, you're thinking about it completely the wrong way. You should think of organic as the normal and think of as the other stuff as the garbage discount.
Oh, well, yeah, there you go. I'm just showing one of the YouTubers because I never pay any, I never give any love. That's what Lo Aller says. Pick up a book.
What's left is the best book you can possibly buy this month.
They say Ted's book. So
it looks like this inside. So it's mostly words, but there's some cartoon, a little bit of cartooning, but sometimes just words,
Only words, Ted?
Yes.
How do you draw words?
Charts. Yeah, very, very carefully and slowly.
All right, guys, we're going to leave that there on this Earth Day. I would beg of people, and this is where I'm not, like, I don't normally, I wouldn't otherwise be like, you got to do this. And I'm not that kind of person, but I am big on having good energy and cleaning your auras. And I would beg of you today, wherever you are.
Clean your auras. Keep your auras clean.
Seriously. Go step on some grass barefoot. I'm serious. Go stand in dirt. I don't mean like at a construction pile. I mean like at a park somewhere in your yard. Go stand in some dirt, touch the soil with your feet, and I promise you do this a couple of times a week, there will be a noticeable change in how you sleep and how you eat and how you function. People need this. And Ted, I'm talking to you because you're a city dweller. I'm a suburban mom. You're a city dweller.
I used to walk around the Columbia University campus barefoot all the time. People always stare at me, even in the winter.
That was a long time ago, Ted. And we know producer Robbie lives in the beautiful state of Montana, so we don't have to worry about him.
That's true. No, he's fine.
Getting out to nature.
No, I mean, Montana. I mean, I'm jealous of the AQI. I bet it's amazing.
I bet. You would like, your lungs would like
Except during the Canadian terrorist wildfires.
There's the damn Canadian terrorists, man. All right, guys, that's going to do it for us. Thank you for tuning in. Happy Earth Day. Ted's book drops on the 1st of May.
International Workers' Day.
How about, apropos. So that's going to do it for us. Thank you so much. Manila Chan, Ted Rall, producer Robbie. We Audi 5000. See you back here tomorrow at 10 a.m. Eastern, guys. Adios. And Clovis, too. I forgot. Clovis
is meowing. I mean, he knows the show's over.
I got to represent Clovis, too. I hear him meowing.
Yeah, he's literally like, come and play. What are you doing, fool?
He's like, get off air and come hang out.
Yeah.
Or he wants his cameo.
Yeah, well, there he is. I don't know if you can see him.
No, we saw his
Not quite.
tail as he was walking around.
Let's see. There he is. No,
There he is. He's giving us the booty.
Yeah, there he is.
Hi, Clovis.
Yep.
All right, that does it, guys. Hasta mañana. Thanks for tuning in.
Bye.
See you at 10 tomorrow. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.